All right, today we're going to dive into a real classic, Norton Juster's The Phantom Tollbooth. Now, you might think, oh, that's a kid's book, but trust me, it is so much more than that. It's this incredible adventure that gets right to the heart of what it means to be curious, what happens when we're just completely bored with everything, and maybe, just maybe, how we can find our way back.
It seems to me that almost everything is a waste of time. Wow, that's where it all starts. And let's be honest, who hasn't felt that way at some point? This one line from our main character Milo just nails the whole problem. This isn't just, being a little bored. It's this deep, soul-crushing feeling that nothing matters, and it literally sucks all the color out of his world.
So let's meet this kid, Milo. He lives in a world that's just completely uninteresting to him. I mean, nothing gets him excited. School? A total drag. His toys? Boring. The entire world just feels small, empty. He sees zero point in anything, but the absolute biggest waste of time in his book, the whole idea of learning something new. And then, one day, out of the blue, this huge, mysterious package just shows up in his room. No return address, nothing. Just a label that reads, "For Milo, who has plenty of time." I mean, talk about a direct hit, right? It's like the universe is calling him out on his boredom, basically daring him to do something with all that time he's wasting.
So what's inside this thing? It's not just a toy. It's a whole adventure kit. You get a genuine turnpike toll booth you have to assemble yourself, some warning signs, coins for the tolls, a map to places that don't even exist on any regular map, and a rule book. But the best part? The guarantee. Get this, if not perfectly satisfied, your wasted time will be refunded. For a kid like Milo, who thinks everything is a waste of time, how could he possibly say no to that?
All right, so we're heading beyond expectations. We're not thinking has some pretty real consequences. And what does Milo do? Well, he figures he has nothing better to do, right? So he puts the toll booth together, hops in his little electric car, pays the toll, and just drives through. And bam! Just like that, his bedroom is gone, he's on a real road, sun shining, and the first sign he sees points him toward a place called expectations.
But, old habits die hard. As he's driving along, his mind just starts to drift. He's daydreaming, not really paying attention, and then he notices the car is slowing down and down until it just stops completely. And the world around him, all the color just drains away, leaving this dull, boring gray. He's accidentally driven straight into a place called the Doldrums. It's literally the physical version of his own mental state. It's that feeling when you're just endlessly scrolling or zoning out on the couch, and yeah, not thinking literally gets you absolutely nowhere.
So what's in the Doldrums? Well, this is what happens when you let apathy take over. The place is filled with these little creatures called lethargigarians. They're totally camouflaged, just blending into the grayness, and they live by some very, very strict rules. The two biggest laws on the books: you are not allowed to think, and you are definitely not allowed to laugh. Seriously.
And check out their daily schedule. It is a work of art, if you're into doing absolutely nothing. You've got daydreaming from 8 to 9, followed by a solid hour of dawdling and delaying. Then after lunch, it's lingering and loitering. A little later, some putting off for tomorrow, and they wrap up the day with a bit of dilly-dallying. It's hilarious, right? It's the perfect send-up of being bored. And the best part is, they actually complain about how busy they are. Too busy doing nothing to get anything done.
So that begs the question, how do you get out of a place that you ended up in by not thinking? Well, you've got to do the one thing that's totally illegal there. You have to think. And just as Milo figures this out, who shows up? A literal watchdog. I'm not kidding, it's a dog named Tock, and his body is a giant ticking clock. He's here to spell it out for Milo. The only way to get his car and his brain moving again is to fire up that engine of thought.
Next stop, the kingdom of words. Welcome to Dictionopolis. So, now that Milo's brain is officially switched on, he and Tock managed to get out of the Doldrums. And the first big stop on their adventure is this amazing place, Dictionopolis. It's the kingdom where, supposedly, every single word in the world comes from.
They head right for the heart of the city, the word market, and it is wild. It's this bustling, chaotic square where vendors are shouting, selling letters of the alphabet from their stalls. You can buy fresh-picked ifs, ands, and buts. People are trading letters to make their own words. It's incredible. For the first time, Milo sees that language isn't just something boring from a book. It's real. It's alive. It's something you can touch and see and trade.
It has actual value.
So Milo gets to meet the royal cabinet of King Azazaz. And you've got the Duke of Definition, the Minister of Meaning, the Earl of Essence. You get the idea. And they all greet him by saying the exact same thing, just using 5 different words for it. It's completely overwhelming. So Milo, being a pretty logical kid, just asks a very simple question that cuts right through all the noise. Hey, wouldn't it just be simpler to use one word?
And their response? Pure coordinated outrage. They fire back with nonsense, ridiculous, fantastic, absurd, bosh. See, in their world, more is always better. Why on earth would you use just one perfectly good word when you could use 5 or 10 or 20? It's not about being clear, it's about having a lot of words. Abundance over accuracy, every single time.
Well, things go from weird to worse. A huge fight breaks out in the market between a giant spelling bee and this blowhard bug called the Humbug. And somehow, Milo gets blamed for the whole mess. The sentence? 6 million years in prison. But you know what? It actually turns out to be the best thing that could have happened to him. Because down in that dungeon, he meets someone who's about to tell him the kingdom's deepest, saddest secret.
So now, a quest is given. The mission to rescue Rhyme and Reason. The woman Milo meets in prison is named Faintly Macabre, and she's not a witch, she's an official witch. Her old job was to decide which words were the right ones to use. She explains the whole tragic backstory of the kingdom, and in doing so, she sets Milo on this epic quest to find and rescue 2 princesses named Rhyme and Reason.
So here's the rundown on how everything went wrong. Way back when, 2 brothers built the kingdom. One built Dictionopolis for words, and the other built Digitopolis for numbers. Everything was pretty good. They even adopted 2 baby girls they found, the princesses Rhyme and Reason, who grew up to be wise and fair. But then the brothers started fighting over which was more important, words or numbers. They asked the princesses to decide, and when Rhyme and Reason said they were both equally important, well, the brothers got so mad they banished them to a castle in the air. And ever since that day, the entire land has been completely without rhyme or reason.
Back at the palace, Milo gets invited to this royal banquet, where they take the phrase, eat your words very, very literally. You have to make a speech, and whatever you say is what you get served for dinner. So the king and his ministers give these long, fancy, over-the-top speeches and get these amazing, delicious feasts. And Milo? He just offers a few short, simple words, and that's exactly what he gets. A plate with his own plain words on it. Not much of a meal.
Milo, our formerly bored hero, is so moved by this story that he actually volunteers to go rescue the princesses. King Azaz is thrilled and lays out the mission. It's a lot. First, he's got to get to the rival city Digitopolis. Then he has to convince the mathematician, the other brother, to agree to let them go. After that, he has to trek through the super dangerous mountains of ignorance, and then he has to climb up to the castle in the air. And who does he get as a guide for this impossible journey? Of course, it's the Humbug. Perfect.
So, why does this book still matter? Why are we talking about a story from 1961 in, well, today's world? That's the setup for the whole adventure, and it's fantastic. But the real reason this book is a classic, the reason it's stuck around for so long, isn't just because it's clever. It's because the stuff it's talking about feels more important, more urgent right now than it did over 60 years ago when it was first published. And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. Let's talk about Maurice Sendak for a second. You know, the guy who wrote Where the Wild Things Are? About 35 years after this book came out, he wrote about it and called it prophetic and scarily pertinent. He basically said that all the imaginary problems in Milo's world were starting to look a lot like the very real problems in our own.
And he was right. I mean, the themes in this book are just timeless. That whole fight between the word people and the number people, that's a perfect look at the dangers of getting too specialized, of putting the arts and the sciences in separate boxes, instead of seeing how they work together. The whole book is a plea for clear communication and critical thinking. And those demons of ignorance that Milo has to fight, they're basically everything in society that tries to dumb us down. It's an incredible metaphor for the challenges we're facing right now.
Listen to this quote from Sendak. He says, "The demons of ignorance, and most especially the triple demons of compromise, are already established in high office all over the world." I mean, that's heavy. He was saying that the book's monsters, creatures like the gross exaggeration who twists the truth, or the terrible trivium who makes you do pointless tasks, they aren't just make-believe anymore. He believed they were real forces running things all over the planet. And just let this sink in. 1961. That's when this was written. This was before the 24/7 news cycle, before the internet, before social media and smartphones and endless notifications. Norton Juster saw a world that was already getting distracted, already getting bored and losing interest, and he wrote this incredible guide for how to find our way back.
So that really leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? In our world, a world of nonstop distraction and noise, do we need rhyme and reason more than ever? Milo's journey was all about bringing back balance, clarity, and just plain common sense to a world that had lost its way. And when you look around at our own complicated, often confusing world, you have to wonder if that journey to find rhyme and reason isn't a quest that every single one of us needs to take.
Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're doing something a little different. We're taking a deep dive into a source you might not expect.
Okay.
A children's book that honestly is one of the best intellectual roadmaps ever written.
It really is.
Our mission is to dig into the world Norton Juster created in the Phantom Tollbooth and, pull out these surprisingly rigorous lessons for adults.
It's a fantastic exercise.
Yeah.
We're treating it less like fantasy and more like a blueprint
A blueprint for what exactly?
for avoiding intellectual traps.
Yeah.
I mean, Maurice Sendak, in the introduction, he just nailed it.
What did he say?
He said the book is about the awakening of the lazy mind. It's meant to jolt you into paying attention.
And that starts with the words themselves. Sendak also pointed out the book's ingenuity, bite, and playfulness in how it attacks the way we just casually use words.
Exactly, because the main character, Milo, he desperately needs that jolt.
He's the classic board learner.
Totally.
Yeah.
He has access to everything, but, no motivation for anything. He thinks learning where Ethiopia is or how to spell February is just a huge waste of time.
We've all been there.
Right. Until this mysterious Tollbooth shows up, and the note on it is so pointed, it says, "For Milo, who has plenty of time."
Okay, let's unpack that. That phrase, plenty of time, that's the core challenge, isn't it? If you're bored, time feels endless and, useless.
Precisely. So our journey today is to synthesize the wisdom in Milo's quest to bring rhyme and reason back to the kingdom of wisdom.
So where does he start?
Well, his first trip immediately shows us the first big trap. Just, intellectual inertia.
Getting stuck.
Exactly.
Yep.
He drives past a place called Expectations, which is, the place you always have to go before you get to where you're going.
And who does he meet there?
The weatherman, who worries less about what the weather will be and more about whether there will be weather at all.
So he's basically that person who just overthinks and overprepares but never actually does anything?
He is trapped in the prep phase. His whole existence is conditional. And because Milo isn't really thinking, he takes a wrong turn and naturally gets stuck.
In the Doldrums.
In the Doldrums, a gray, monotonous place. It's the physical embodiment of being mentally stuck.
And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because Juster gives this apathy a bureaucracy.
He does, through the Lethargarians. They live under this ordinance, and it makes it unlawful, illegal, and unethical to think of thinking, surmise, presume, reason, meditate, or speculate.
So thinking is literally illegal.
It is. Their whole schedule is just a masterclass in wasting time. They even have a late early morning nap.
But then someone shows up to save him.
Tock, the watchdog. His body is a giant alarm clock, and he catches Milo killing time.
And he's not having it.
Not at all. He tells Milo that time is our most valuable possession, more precious than diamonds.
So how does Milo get out?
Well, this is the beautiful part. Tock tells him, since you got here by not thinking, it seems reasonable to expect that in order to get out, you must start thinking. So Milo starts thinking of impossible things, like fish that fly, and the car starts to move again.
So the takeaway isn't just don't be lazy. It's that you have to actively engage your mind. Passivity is a choice that leads you straight to the Doldrums.
Exactly.
And once he's moving, he enters the kingdom of wisdom, which is ironically at war with itself.
Right, which sets up the second big lesson.
Yeah.
The danger of specializing without, putting it all together.
Synthesis.
Right. So you have Dictionopolis, the city of words, ruled by King Azaz. And here, language is everything, to the point of absurdity.
Like what?
Well, his cabinet members argue that if one is right, then 10 or 10 times is right. They prefer complexity over just being clear.
And they sell words in the market.
They sell words like quagmire and flabbergast. It's a world where how you say something matters more than what you're saying.
And this obsession with words has a dark side, with faintly macabre.
Yeah, the official witch. Her job was to choose which words to use. But she got miserly and used too few, and communication just collapsed.
Her advice is so potent.
It is. While it is wrong to use too few, it is often far worse to use too many.
a warning against both being too vague and too wordy.
And on the other side of the kingdom, you have Digitopolis,
The land of numbers.
ruled by the math magician. Here, numbers are literally mined like jewels, but they have their own logical traps.
The subtraction stew.
The famous subtraction stew, yeah.
Hmm.
The more you eat, the hungrier you get. And their whole economy is based on this idea of eating when you're full until you're hungry.
It's mathematically sound, but in practice, it's complete nonsense.
It perfectly describes systems that are technically correct, but just, fail on a human level.
So this all comes from the banishment of rhyme and reason.
The two princesses, yeah. The kings asked them to decide what was more important, words or numbers. And their answer.
That they're both equally important. One is warp and the other woof in the cloak of knowledge.
And for that, they were banished. Because the kings cared more about being right than about the actual truth.
Which really raises a question for us today, doesn't it? How do we bridge that gap between, say, data science and storytelling?
We forget they're two sides of the same coin. You need both for a complete picture.
Okay, so Milo continues his quest. He has to go through the mountains of ignorance.
Which are, of course, populated by monsters that represent all the ways our thinking can go wrong.
Let's start with the first one, which feels so immediate, jumping to conclusions.
Literally. Milo, Tock, and the Humbug say a few careless things like, nothing can possibly go wrong now.
The famous last words.
And poof, they land on the island of conclusions. And this guy, Canby, explains that you get there every time you decide something without having a good reason.
And the only way back.
You have to swim the sea of knowledge.
Mm.
But Canby says most people who try come out completely dry.
We hear information, but we don't really let it sink in.
Exactly. Then comes maybe the most relatable villain of all.
The terrible trivium.
The demon of petty tasks and worthless jobs. He gives them these impossible tiny tasks. Move a pile of sand with tweezers, dig a hole with a needle.
He's the embodiment of busy work.
And his logic is just chilling. If you stop to do enough of them, you'll never get to where you're going.
He traps you with the feeling of being productive.
Right. And Milo only escapes by using the pencil the math magician gave him to calculate how long the tasks would take.
And the answer?
837 years. That cold, hard number breaks the spell. It reveals how futile the work actually is.
So sometimes you need the quantitative truth to escape the illusion of progress.
Absolutely. Then, just as they're about to succeed, they meet the census taker.
This is a final boss of distraction.
He almost paralyzes them with illusions. A circus, amazing smells, the sound of applause for their egos.
So how do they break free from that?
With a gift from earlier in the journey, the sound of shared laughter. The census taker admits he can't take their sense of humor.
A sense of humor as a defense mechanism against ego and distraction? I like that.
It's essential.
Speaking of sounds, there's that moment in the Valley of Sound.
Oh, yeah.
The whole valley is silent because the soundkeeper locked all the sounds away. They need one sound to break the silence.
And Milo has the perfect idea. He loads a single word into a cannon. Just brrr. And that one word is enough to shatter the fortress and release all the old sounds, all the history.
It suggests that simple dissent, just introducing a counter-argument, is powerful enough to break even the most entrenched silence.
A single but can change everything.
So he finally rescues rhyme and reason, and they give him the final lessons.
And these are huge. First, Reason talks about mistakes. She says you should never feel bad about them, as long as you take the trouble to learn from them.
And she says you often learn more by being wrong for the right reasons.
Than by being right for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
A massive concept. And then Rhyme adds the lesson about purpose.
It's not just about learning things.
No. It's learning what to do with what you learn, and learning why you learn things at all that matters.
And reason connects it all to, well, everything. That whatever we do affects everything and everyone else.
Even in a tiny way. Like when you stamp your foot, the whole earth moves just a little.
Then comes the final twist from the kings.
The big reveal. They admit the quest was completely impossible.
And they hid that from him on purpose.
They did. They said, if we'd told you then, you might not have gone. And as Milo discovered, so many things are possible just as long as you don't know they're impossible.
The power of believing something can be done. So Milo returns home.
And he finds he's only been gone for an hour, the toll booth is gone, and there's a note.
Saying his trip is complete and now it's for other kids.
Right.
And this is the transformation. He looks around his own room, which he used to think was so boring.
And now...
Now he sees potential everywhere. Books that could take you anywhere, things to invent and make and build. He realizes he's too busy for another trip because there's just so much to do right here.
which is the whole point. The journey taught him that his own world, the one he found so dull, was the kingdom of wisdom all along. He just needed to learn how to open his eyes and stop wasting his time.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to chew on, something that builds on all this.
Okay.
If what you learned today helps you discover the secrets of tomorrow, what is the one useless thing you're learning right now? The thing you dismiss as trivial? Could that actually be the key? Could it be the pencil that saves you from the terrible trivium down the road?
Keep looking for those connections. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Until next time.